obviously super nervous about it, but it went down really well, and the band was really supportive. And you know, it was kind of my main thing was really making sure that everyone understood why I was doing it, and understood like the sincerity behind it. And like I was, obviously we all went through, you know, something really really crazy together as a as an earth, you know. So it was like the first thing I wanted to do was figure out, can I write a full song on my own again, like without, you know, taking it into someone else or like taking it to the band or whatever, and just sort of like starting again at like square one. What does like a song sound like if I write it by myself, the whole thing? And I was doing more production stuff like in this room, like I set up a studio, and I wanted to really get better at like producing and understanding the way of like sound manipulation and like what goes into finishing like an actual like song. The first songs that I wrote for like on my own didn't end up on the album. It didn't feel, looking back, they were kind of like, I had to write them to get to like a song like Starting Line or whatever, like any of the songs in the album. I had to sort of write a bunch to get there.
You must have been so disorientated as well at like 15, thrust into this entire industry as like this package. Yeah.
No, exactly. And I always tread lightly because it is like, I love being in 5 Seconds of Summer. I love being in that band, and that I wouldn't change anything about that, except maybe some fashion choices I had back in the day. But I wouldn't change anything about that time. So I always want to say like there's no ill feelings towards it. It's just, it is what it is. And there was, you know, moments where it was confusing and difficult, and it's left a lot of gaps in my humanness, I suppose. Yeah. And some are really great gaps, and some are, you know, I mean, I don't know how to do laundry very well, so I had to learn how to do that, like even small things. But, you know, I was more talking about like the mental sort of, I don't know, the mental gaps that one can acquire in that situation.
But did you fill those gaps? Were you successful in doing what you set out to do?
I think so, man. I think, I mean, no one ever fills all the gaps, surely. This life is like a leaky boat with a bunch of holes in it. You're trying to figure out yourself, I guess. Yeah, I'm gonna say yes. I filled all the ones that I needed to for now, I'd say. Yeah. I think, I mean, like I said, being in one place and having that time to reevaluate and to figure out why I am the way I am, and like seeing like, oh, okay, this has been happening for a bit, and like why it's almost like therapy, I guess, for me, is songwriting. And because the way I write songs is usually, a lot of the time I don't come in with like, oh, I want to write about this. It's more like I'll play something and words will sort of come out, and then I'll go, okay, well, what does that mean? You know what I mean?
I just wondered, do you feel like that in a personal sense, in a professional sense, in both? Like, because time is running out for everyone, but it just seems like, yeah, I just felt really sad for you listening.
Yeah, I don't know. You don't have to feel too sad. It's okay. It was definitely more aimed in a personal sense, the time running out. And I think the whole song is pretty sad. You know, it's very, like I was just saying, like I just have such a fascination with things that are out of your control as humans, and really being face to face with that, with there's no, you know, all right, we're going this place now, we're like going this, there was no distraction from anything for everyone. There was no like distraction from, we can't go anywhere, we can't do anything. And it's like, okay, we're sat and faced with, for me, what was like almost like being in this wreckage of a long time, living one way. And that line for me is just, I don't know. Is it the other time I'm running? What is it? I'm running out of time. Oh yeah. It's just like, yeah. If my younger self was here.
Yeah. In this room, in like a time travel scenario.
Oh geez. What would I say? I'd say you should maybe stop wearing skinny jeans and Vans every day, maybe because you're because you're in the public eyes in some way. Maybe like, change up the outfit a bit. No, I don't know what I'd say. I'd honestly just say enjoy it, and I don't think he'd listen. You know what I mean? Like, he doesn't want to listen to me. But I don't know. That's a hard question. I'm prepared, but I think it would have been a much different, worse story for me without the band. I just have such sympathy for people that are on there. Well, I mean, the irony that I'm doing a solo interview, but I have such sympathy for solo artists that, especially if they're young and like touring, and I don't know personally how I would have handled it without the band and that, without having a good family and having good people around me. But I just think, I mean, even now, like, everything with the band around is, it just makes everything so much better. And like going on long tours and even going through such a beautiful, crazy, weird, awesome thing together, you have someone to talk to it about, and they know exactly what happened, and you almost like they almost remember things differently than I do. So it's like you get to, I don't know, it's like you get to compare how each, you know what I mean, like compare to each other. More importantly, just had like mates on the road and like friends there. And I think because of what it is, there's definitely, especially on stage, there's a sense to like some sort of semblance of a character is being played, because it's such a big thing, and like we're playing big shows, and like, you kind of stand there with twiddling your thumbs on stage. But I think this album is more, I don't know, just straight to the heart of exactly what I like, and more straight to the heart of what I am feeling lyrically. But yeah, it's interesting. It's interesting. It's why it took me a second to figure out what I wanted it to sound like and what I wanted to say on this, because I wanted it to be like its own separate sort of sacred place that I could come back to. And it's like this sort of thing over here.
You seem to be taking a more fluid approach, and I think that's really interesting as a first step as an artist in your own life.
Thanks, man. I think because I gravitate towards, as I was saying, like very like grandiose, sort of ethereal production, like you say, Arcade Fire or War on Drugs and Bon Iver and like M83 and all these sort of huge, larger than life productions that are very, I guess, dreamscapey. I think the reason that maybe it doesn't feel too like that is because lyrically it's juxtaposed by the people I'm influenced by lyrically, which are like, Neil Young and like Joni Mitchell, and like very singer-songwriter, like very like I said, straight to the heart.
That kind of like their own personal world with you that they can revisit again and again. Was that like an aim as well?
Yes, no, definitely. That was the, I guess, ethos.
Yeah.
Is that the word? The ethos of my album. It was definitely to like create a body of work and sort of a world that you can come back to and have that I don't know, that emotional sort of hyper emotional feeling about it. And I don't know, you can come back whenever you want, I suppose. Because it really is a bottle. It really is a bottle of work. It really is like a full body of work and like a full album, and it was intended in that way. That's why it was really hard. Starting Line stood out because obviously the name, and it sums up everything lyrically and sonically. But it was really difficult to choose songs to come out because they're like none of them are really in my head like singles. They're all just like a bunch of thoughts and feelings. And for me, I mean, I was way too close to the music to be like, oh yeah, I know exactly what come first. Is like, no, they're all just like, I don't know, they're all just like thoughts and feelings. So even like choosing the songs and the way they would come out was a difficult thing because I felt like they're like my babies.
Luke was here. Do you think he would be impressed with the album?
Yeah, I think I can answer that one. I think he'd be impressed. I think for me, my whole like journey at the moment is, and especially the last couple of years, is to be the best sort of songwriter I can be. And I think it's like a skill that I want to keep building on and just get better and better at. And I think at the start of the band's career, which is like about, 15, I had ideas for songs, and I had sort of thoughts and like ways to figure them out. And over the years, obviously writing so much, in sessions and for the band, like I have figured out a way to do it. But at that time, I wasn't exactly sure how to write music, and I wasn't sure how to finish a whole song. So for now, being able to finish a whole album on my own is a huge feat. And I think that would be impressive to 15-year-old me, I guess, even on a songwriting level. And because it was always like the want and the desire to do that and be at, even the level of songwriting I'm at now, like I'm so stoked on. I'm not saying I'm some wizard or anything, but for like, coming from where I was to now is like such a huge and vast difference, just even on a personal level, not in like competing with myself, is, I think you'd be stoked.
Yeah. Start cracking on a new record now that you've learned all this stuff about yourself. Yeah,
man, we're already started, and I think we're in the studio at the moment and finishing the band's album, so it's gonna be great. Writing a couple of new songs, finishing some already written ones. This all, and that's also what, like, it's all tools to take back to the band, and like it's just all helpful for me. Like I said, I just want to be the best songwriter version of me that I can. So it's all helpful.
Yeah, the best songwriter Australia has produced since.
I'm a long way off that, but I'm better than 15-year-old me, so that's something.